Episode 35 of the Brew Crew Scoop. I'm back. We missed last week. I wasn't here the week before. Shout out to Ryan for stepping up. The Brewers, we're past the deadline now. They acquired Frankie Montas and Nick Mears. I believe both were since the last time we recorded. So those were the two deadline moves. Obviously, Savali came shortly before that. So those are the three pitchers they went out and got at the deadline. We'll talk more about that. Cole, did you miss me?
I have. The first week I didn't really miss you, but by the second week I did, especially when we tried to record and Kian, believe it or not, did have Zoom struggles. So,
Must be a different
um,
Kean.
yeah, I wish I could blame Zoom, but I gotta blame Kian. But yeah, we're back now, both of us in new homes. I went to Denver for a weekend, so we've been busy. But yeah, and the Olympics are on. So as much as I'm a Brewers fan, I'm also a fan of America, and I've been watching a lot of that too. So,
We did
but
buy houses in the same week by chance. What are the chances?
yeah,
Yeah, I was rooting for Greece too in basketball, actually, for obvious reasons, but
yeah, it didn't
didn't
happen.
work out. Didn't work
U.S.
out.
hoops today, though. I don't know if you saw that, but they were down against Serbia, and then in the fourth quarter, just decided to take over.
I sure did see that.
You know,
Giannis, at least we can bring him home in one piece. So that's
yeah.
that's the silver lining there. All right. Well, I won't bore anyone with games from 2 weeks ago, but the Marlins series, the Brewers lost 2 of 3 against them again. We've struggled against them all year.
And I was gonna say, I thought it was funny in that series. Obviously the Marlins shed like half their team, so we saw a lot of Marlins in their last game as Marlins, including
Mm-hmm.
Bell and
Yes, Bell.
Jazz, and like I said, the other half of their team.
Chaz Chisholm.
Yep, Jism.
Um, and then the Braves were in Milwaukee. The Brewers also lost 2 of 3. And then this past weekend, the Brewers played the Nationals. Um, they won game one on Friday, 8-3. Contreras had a home run. Frankie Montas made his Brewers debut. I think he touched, was it 99 or 98 in that first game? We'll talk more about him, obviously, but looked good to see the velo back after his shoulder surgery. I thought that he was sitting more 92 to 94. So, admittedly, was not able to watch a ton because of the move. But then Saturday and Sunday they suffered back-to-back losses. So Nationals took that series, and then off day Monday, Tuesday, Brewers versus Braves in Atlanta. It was Ray versus Bryce Elder. Colin Rea went 7 innings pitched with 5 hits, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs. Just he seems to be getting better, honestly. Before it was like, all right, he'll give you 5 innings and keep it competitive. Now he's like our ace. He's been so
Hmm.
good. Terang, Chourio, Ortiz, Contreras, and Adames all had multi-hit games. Adames was 4 for 5 with 2 home runs. Brewers won 10-0. Game two yesterday, Wednesday, the Brewers were down 4-3 in the middle of the game. Peralta struggled a little bit. Unfortunately, it's been kind of a trend. Perkins was the hero with multiple hits, plenty of runs batted in. Brewers won 8-5. Game three today, early game. The Brewers completed the sweep with a 16-7 win. Jackson Chourio had 2 home runs. He is white hot. He's been incredible this last month or 2 months, wherever you want to draw the line, basically. Adames Mitchell Contreras also homered. Brewers had 52 hits and 34 runs in the 3-game series. The sweep of the Atlanta Braves. Mentioned it on Twitter, but how mad do you think the Braves are about the Contreras for Murphy swap? I know Contreras wasn't a good defender, and Murphy is. And I know Contreras, even despite last year being a good defender, has regressed a little bit defensively, it seems. Um, Murphy, when he's healthy, has been bad, unfortunately for them. I like Sean Murphy, but he's been bad, bad, bad. Darno's a good catcher as well. So, but I bet they would undo that trade if they could. Not only did we fleece the A's, or not only did we fleece the Braves, but the A's didn't really turn out that well either in that deal so far. Ruiz hasn't been anything special. So, what a great trade by Matt Arnold.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that trade actually. Sean Murphy happens to be a free agent in our fantasy league that we will not dive into today because that's been a fun, eventful last week or two. But anyways, um, yeah, he's hitting like 215 maybe with not much pop really either, and Yeah, not the player that he was a year or two ago, but who knows? Maybe he wakes up and is back to his ways next year. But yeah, definitely um not upset to have Contreras from that deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like splitting time, Murphy and Darno. At least they had been right
Yeah,
when he
no,
came back from
Murphy's
injury.
not
Mm-hmm.
getting everyday reps.
Yeah. Yeah, so that series was really refreshing. Even though the pitching still seems to be the concern and the talk after the deadline, seeing the offense click into gear. Hoskins is on like a 13 game hitting streak. Um, Chourio is on fire, just incredible. Today was game 101 for him, but I had a tweet saying his first 50 games versus his last 50 games of his first 100 games of his career. And he adjusted just fine, and he's proven that he can hit off of whether it's an NL Cy Young front runner and Chris Sale or anyone.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
I figured, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, it's crazy how, I mean, obviously today skews the stats too with the offense, but it's just good to see us hitting again because you feel like a couple arms can kind of lock in. One guy that, I mean, Freddie, and I'll touch on it later, but he had 3 starts since we last talked technically, and 3 starts would have been a sure candidate for the old untouchable pitcher, but he was rather touchable. So I think that's one place that Brewers fans are a little nervous, but he's still got some time to figure things out as long as we can keep our lead in the division. And all he really has to do is pitch good in a couple playoff games, and I think it changes the whole narrative of the season. So
Yeah. Standings, real quick. The Brewers have a 6.5 game lead over the Cardinals still for the division, and only a half game behind the Dodgers as it stands right now. For that bye in the first round, that's got to be obviously the division isn't quite locked up yet, but you feel pretty good with less than 2 months and a 6.5 game lead. So hopefully they can start eyeing and chasing down the Dodgers. That would be huge if we didn't have to play in another 3 game wild card series as a division winner.
yeah, and one thing obviously we talked about, I'm sure we'll talk again, but as long as it comes up now, Um, obviously first pod since the deadline, and the Cardinals look a whole lot different since the last Cardinals team we saw. They, I think out of anyone in the division did the most to get better. The Pirates also, I think, did a lot, and the Cubs, I feel like just the Cubs kind of made moves to make moves. I don't think they necessarily were moves for this year, so not as worried about them, but not saying they can't do it. They have the talent, but I'm just saying their deadline moves aren't as worrying. But the Cardinals and the Pirates both put some pressure on, but the Cardinals getting Fetty and Pham. Um, I don't know if they got anyone else. I know they got rid of Edmund and they got rid of Carlson, but they weren't using those guys. And Fetty got lit up his first start, but Ryan really wanted Fetty in a Brewers uniform, and instead he's in a Rivals uniform. So just wanted to mention that the divisional race does look a bit different after the ads around the division. Um, yeah, but I don't know if those teams are really going for the division or the wild card because that race is really heating up in the NL. So that's going to be fun to watch, and hopefully we don't have to worry about the wild card race.
I did see something from, I think it was J.R. Radcliffe, might have been McCalvy. I apologize because I don't remember. And it was like teams with a 5 or 6 plus game lead on the division since August, like on August 1st,
Hmm.
are like bulletproof basically. I can't remember the exact stat, but it was like it's very rare to have that kind of lead in August and blow it. I think he said one of the last times was when the Brewers chased down the Cubs actually. So
You
don't
have
don't
you
quote
have
me
a
on that, but
you
you
have a
feel
wood
pretty
desk.
good.
You have a wood desk in your new office. Can you just knock on that for me?
Got it.
All right, thanks.
Um, all right. Tell me who your untouchable pitcher of the 2 weeks was.
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
Honestly, I was hoping it'd be some like a reliever. I thought it would line up perfect or something like that,
No,
but
it's gonna be the dude who gets it done over and over and over again. Tell me who it is,
correct.
Cole.
You know who it is.
It's
And
Colin fucking
you
Ray.
know, shout out his brother. We'll talk about it every time. I'm just kidding. Yeah, Colin Rea, both starts against the Braves too, which the Braves offense isn't what it was last year, but you still look at that offense and can't tell me as a pitcher you want to face it. 12.1 innings pitched, 8 hits surrendered, 2 earned surrendered, 3 walks surrendered, and 15 Ks, and a dub. So got to give it to Colin Rea. like you said, it was kind of obvious when you compare him to some of the other starters in that span. And like I said, I wanted it to be Freddie because he had the opportunity, but isn't getting it done right now.
Yeah, Colin Rea just can't overstate how important he's been for this team this year, especially, but in his 2 years here. Um, I wanted to give a little shout out to Montas. Like I said, Savali was kind of whatever we need an arm move to me, and I feel like I feel like people aren't as high on Montas as they should be. Before his shoulder surgery, he was really really good for like 3 or 4 years. So, um, it's not a guarantee, but if there's a team that can do it, it's the Brewers, and I'm excited to see what Montas can continue to do. Obviously, he had another good start today, blemish on a 3-run Austin Riley homer, but want to give him a little shout out. Also wondering if you were in charge of setting up the rotation. Let's say we're going into a 5-game playoff series right now. How are you letting that shake out?
Yeah, it really sucks because of Freddie, but
Mm-hmm.
I just need him to show me something in one start, and then I still make Freddie your game one, just because you have to. Um, and then it gets into matchups and who you want to use in the pen and stuff because it sucks. Like Colin Ray's stuff doesn't look like a game 2 or 3 starter,
Yeah,
but
but it never has,
getting
and
it
it
done.
always gets the job done.
Yeah, it does until it doesn't. But yeah. And then, like you said, once we get a little more comfortable, I think with Frankie on the team, he has a track record of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Savali is just another, he'll probably do the job pretty well. Um, and then where I think I'd get interested is like really emphasizing the piggyback, where we have DL Hall
That's what
hopefully
yeah.
coming back end of this week, maybe next week. A guy like that, that's just I don't know, a change of not change of scenery for the hitters, I guess, but a little, I don't know, we're gonna have to be creative. We know that, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty clear. Joe Ross is already working out of the pen. We'll see if he's still around in the playoffs. I'd imagine he might be, but if not, um, either way. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say you took the trick question part out of my mind or out of my little game here. They're definitely gonna play piggyback with someone for sure. I don't know who it is, but definitely with DL Hall, definitely some Joe Ross. Um, I mean, I feel like if who knows with the schedule, like you said, and the matchups, like
Well,
Freddie.
and I was gonna say I didn't even talk about Tobias Myers, but like he's been our
But that's what I'm
second
saying.
best starter behind Colin Rea.
That's what I'm saying. I feel
But,
like
but
if you had to ask me right now what I would do in a 5-game series, I would probably go Freddie because that's just where you got to win or lose by him. I feel like unfortunately, unless he struggles a lot and Colin Rea continues to be the Cy Young, but I would go Freddie, Ray, Myers, Savali, but knowing that with or sorry,
Frankie, you
Myers
didn't say
Montas.
Frankie.
No,
Yeah.
that's what I meant. Myers Montas Savali would be out of the pen or something. But those four, because you need four in a playoff series. Freddie, Ray, Myers, Montas. But I think with Myers, you gotta have like DL Hall ready, or whether you want to go ready or lefty, DL Hall or Joe Ross ready immediately, or Montas ready. Because the only thing that's good about Tobias Myers is there's been a couple times where it seems like early in the game he's almost let it get away. So
Yeah, and I'm
I
curious
trust
too.
Conrad. He's cool. He's calm. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
get worked up the way. Yeah.
I'm curious if maybe Myers, especially like being younger and more recently bouncing around the minors and such, that maybe he's a little more comfortable if he was in a relief type
Yep.
role. I mean, all of our guys pretty much at this point are used to having or seeing an opener, right? Traditionally, other than I guess Freddie, but we use it a lot. So it wouldn't be unheard of to have any of them kind of work off that piggyback. But it's tough because Freddie and Frankie and maybe even Savali, like they have probably not Savali, but Peralta and Montas both have more of the metrics where this year Ray and Myers are the guys getting it done. So I'm really curious to see when playoffs come around if it's hopefully it's not like this and all of our guys are just dominant. But in the event that they're not, it's going to be probably a bit of a battle between the front office and the metrics versus what's actually gotten it done and a little of the old school baseball. So that's what I'm really curious to see play out, because like you said, you can't really look at the team this year and not say Colin Rea has been our best pitcher, but Freddie Peralta is our best pitcher, or is supposed to be. So the metrics and what's actually happening is going to have quite the battle. And I guess that's where, the front office and management is going to earn their paychecks. But whatever they do, if it doesn't work, we both thought the opposite and they're
Yep.
idiots. Yep.
Pretty much. Who is your hot hitter of the week?
Stop dropping on fire, Ricky Bobby. I'm on fire. He's so hot right now.
Since we last talked, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys over 8 dotting, which is pretty, or 8 dotting. What the hell am I talking about? Over 800 OPS. Wow. The highest is, well, before today was Reese, but didn't include today's stats. And then a certain someone in second place had 2 home runs, and I'm gonna have to give it to him. So Jackson Chourio had 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 10 runs, 9 RBI, 2 walks, and then I don't think he had any steals today, right? So then 3 steals over that span. His OPS, I believe, would now be over 1 as well. Shout out Reese because he didn't play today. So he had 2 doubles and 4 home runs over that span as well. 9 run, 9 RBI, 3 walks. He's really been getting it done. And we've talked about it a lot, but he kind of quietly was still hitting fine throughout the year. Like he's had over 100 OPS plus for a lot of the season. But just wasn't, I guess, having the huge games. I think just more steady games. But we're starting to see him put some of it together, and I think that's fair to be expected, especially when you consider coming off an injury like he was. So those are the 2 main guys. But Garrett Mitchell, Contreras is kind of getting his stuff back. Adames had a couple, I think 3 home runs over the span. And then even like Perkins, Monasterio, Gary Sanchez, we had a lot of dudes getting it done. So shout out to the whole lineup.
Yeah, I just want to say that I just pulled the numbers after the game today for Jackson Chourio since June 23rd. There's like 2 main lines you can draw on his stats. June 2nd is if you want to go back to basically the start of this whole thing. But if you want to talk about him getting really hot, you go back to June 23rd to now. Slashing 360, 400, 580 for 980 OPS. And he's got 7 homers and 9 doubles, 24 runs batted in. This is over 34 games and 24 RBI. Also, not only has he been hot, but side note, I tweeted that he doesn't have a triple in his career. And I double checked baseball reference, no triples. My dad texted me and was like, didn't one of those inside the park home runs get overturned to a triple with an error? There's no triples on his stat page, so it must have got overturned to a double with a 2-base error, I think. The one in Anaheim, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, almost a 1,000 OPS over the last month and a half. That is, yeah. I mean, it was like a 570 before, and now it's a 750 almost. So
Yeah,
more than that, right?
I wonder if he, we talked about how he didn't have a lot of time in AAA going into the season, right? I wonder if a little extra time in AAA would have made his adjustment in the league a little faster, if no matter what, he was going to go through this, which is possible. And we'll never know. And at this point, I don't care, right? It seems like he's arrived.
Right.
So I'm not that worried about it. But I mean, similar to the Jackson Holiday situation where now he's just hitting bombs and doing well. But his stat line for the next month or 2 is going to still look pretty bad because of that overstart. But yeah, nothing else to say other than I like seeing. Feel like once every couple of days I see a new tweet from Sam Decker that shouts out how good Jackson Chourio is at age 20.
What do you have for us for Statcast?
Baseball isn't just numbers.
It's not science.
You sure about that?
Yep. So I tied this into our transactions and just dove a little bit into the guys we acquired. So, in their Statcast pages, Nick Mears. So he actually was a guy that Dom Cotroneo had talked about prior to us, publicly at least stating interest in him and then acquiring him as a guy that seemed interesting because his Savant page is like pure red. And Dom Cotroneo thought, hey, our front office likes guys that are good at baseball. They should like this guy. And then we randomly, for some people, I think all of a sudden Nick Mears trade. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Look into it a little bit. He was above average in just about every Statcast like main metric other than his walk percentage and his ground ball percentage, which was 45%. And also that was possibly influenced from playing at Coors, I feel like. And then when you mix in that his hard hit percentage is in the 96th percentile. So the dude essentially didn't give up hard hits or barrels. And his K rate is in the 88th percentile and his xERA, so expected ERA rather than the bit higher number that I think my grandpa probably laughed at when he opened up his Journal Sentinel the next day and read off his stat line. His xERA is in the 84th percentile. So according to Savant and expected outcomes of balls and pitches, he should have been a lot better. And so far, I think we're seeing in most of his time so far here, he's been very effective. Another thing about him that isn't Statcast, but he mentioned that just about the All-Star break, they noticed he was tipping some pitches. And that's obviously something where well, he's fixed, right? If you find out you're tipping pitches, you're going to change that. And then just a little bit about his mix on the year. 60% of the time, he's thrown his 97 mile an hour fastball. 21% of the time, he's thrown an 87 mile an hour slider. 19% of the time, he's thrown an 81 mile an hour curveball, which relative to his Brewers outings, he's thrown especially his last two outings, he's thrown 16 fastballs, 7 sliders, and no curveballs. And then in the two prior to that, he only threw 3 curveballs. So it looks like the front office likely is trying to move away maybe from that curveball and just up the slider usage a little bit and be more of a 2-pitch guy, which out of the pen is fine. And if he still needs to mix that curveball in, it's not like he forgot, but he has really good vertical movement on pretty much all of his offerings. And I think we like that. And I also in Savant, you can look at kind of an overlay of where they release, and his release point for his slider and fastball was like exactly the same, which think of the pitching ninja graphics and all that overlay stuff. Speaking as a hitter, it's obviously a lot harder if you can't tell what the guy's throwing as it leaves his hand. So it's a little Nick Mears love. And then Montas is another guy that, interestingly, like Mears, since we've acquired them, they're expected weighted on base. So basically how good they are at not giving up expected hits and such. Looks a lot better since being in a Brewers uniform for both these guys. But Montas specifically has thrown 5 pitches throughout the season. A 4-seam, splitter, sinker, cutter, slider. And all of them are over 10% usage. So he's mixed all those pitches pretty well, which, it's, again, we've talked about it in the past, but a guy like Colin Rea, when you're able to really use all those pitches, it's really helpful. But at the same time, if you throw all those and something appears to be more effective, it's also really easy to just throw that pitch more often and still mix in that other stuff. So what I want to say is some kind of differences between season long trends and then how his outings in a Brewers uniform have looked. So on the season, he was throwing his 4-seam 34% of the time, but in his Brewers outings, he's thrown it 45.6% of the time. So we're up in the 4-seam usage, it appears. His splitter usage is a little bit down in Brewers outings. It was 21% for the season average, but now it is down to like 15.6% or so. His sinker, we're keeping on par with the year. So 70% of the time he's throwing his sinker. Cutter just about the same as well, and then the slider usage is down from 11% to 6.1%. So basically, we took a little bit away from the splitter and sliders that he had been throwing and put that into four seams, and so far it's been successful. And like you said, he's still got that velo, so I think that's something maybe that we wanted to capitalize on. But we'll see if the trends and pitch usage stays the same or not. But I think it's interesting when a guy moves to a new org if they're going to capitalize on that. Some of the, I guess, easy fixes, but yeah, basically, slight pitch mix change, and his sinker had been performing pretty well in the year, and he's still using it the second most relative to all of his pitches in his Brewer start. So yeah, just curious to see any other
excited.
tweaks or not, but those
I'm
are
excited
the
about both of those.
Yeah.
Dudes that we acquired. I mean, like I said, Savali, I feel like he just is what it is. Like he'll be fine. He'll pitch and sometimes it might be good. But Montas and Mears both got some stuff that's very intriguing. Unfortunately, with Montas, I would love to see him stick around for one more year because I really think they could unlock some. But we're not picking up a $20 million option, so I'm sure we'll be paying out the buyout and maybe trying to negotiate something cheaper. But who knows? You know, like I was thinking about this the other day. We gave Wade Miley, what was it, like 1 year, 10 million or something like that? Was it 10 mil? I
don't
think
know
it
if
was.
that high. Yeah, maybe.
You should check. But like, and it's easy to say now that he's injured, but like thinking back, I'm like, damn, why did we do that? I feel like we could have, and I like Wade, and he's a good clubhouse guy and everything.
Yeah,
But
it was 8.5. It looks like.
okay, that's better. I mean, it's not that big of a difference, but like, I guess my point is that starting pitchers are expensive, so
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be seeing Frankie Montas come back, but maybe he'll like it. Who knows?
Yeah, I think part of it depends on how he finishes out too.
You know what though? Like, what's the buyout on Frankie's deal? Because okay, so let's say Wade
It's
Miley's
it's 2 mil, and then we paid
So-
an extra mil in the trade, so to offset. But anyways,
okay. So the options probably, let's say the option's like 18 million basically is the difference if you're paying the whatever. You're paying the buyout. Okay.
Yep.
If he does well and they think they can unlock something, maybe they do pick it up. I mean, I doubt it, but if you give 8.5 million to Wade Miley, and I feel like Wade probably had some incentives maybe in there as well for innings. I don't know. I feel like if they think I trust them to do whatever they think is right for the team. It sounds like a lot of money. I guess my point is that starting pitchers are expensive, and if you're, whatever, they probably don't have their minds made up yet. I guess at first I thought it was a foregone conclusion that he's not coming back, but now that I think about it, I think it's possible. Probably unlikely, but possible.
yeah, I don't know if we'll give him that much, but we'll see.
Probably not. You're right. Probably not. But I don't know. I like him. I like his vibe, and I like his stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so I just saw on Twitter that did you know that Willy Adames and Carlos Gomez played together in Tampa Bay?
I did not know that.
They played together in 2018 because this dude that I follow, and I met him in at a Brewers game. He tweeted a Adames 27 Rays jersey and said, I don't even know why they made this. Carlos Gomez came in and took 27 from him right away. Willie wore number 1 in Tampa. And I found a picture of them playing together. I thought that was really funny. Had no
That is
idea.
dope. That is dope.
All right. Brewers news. We talked about the deadline deals, and we went pretty deep into them now. The one thing I wanted to say about the deadline is I'm happy with who we got. I would have liked to see a tiny bit more. I know, like, I would have liked to see a infielder that plays around. Rengifo would have been perfect. Obviously, he just went down with a wrist injury. Happy we didn't do that, but that would have been nice. Otherwise, I do like our lineup. I kind of wish we would have made a push for a Flaherty or a Fetty because compared to what some people were getting or some teams were getting, they didn't go for that expensive. Like,
Yeah.
I know Flaherty's got the back thing, but it's only 2 more months. So I don't know. I would have liked to see them go after one of those two dudes, especially Fetty with another year control, not too expensive. Who knows? I'm sure we had our hat in the running and we made a good offer
Yeah.
but
I just
it wasn't overpays, I guess. Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I always think with like in a whatever the stupid trade simulators or in a video game, right? There's a universal value on every prospect. So you're like, okay, duh, this
Mhm.
guy's these three guys equal this guy. In real life, every org has their own evaluation of every player. And that's where you get the deals where teams seem to take the wrong deal and you're like, well, my team should have given more. For all you know, your team offered something that they thought was better and the other org just doesn't value those guys the same way. So like that's where you'll never really know, but just keep that in mind before you get all mad at the front office. They're good people, okay?
Yeah, that's true. All right. I don't know what else you have for Brewers news, but like I said, with this craziness of the move and it being 2 weeks, and we already talked about the deadline, I didn't really have anything else specific. We'll talk about the minor league stuff, but anything else in the major league team you wanted to bring up?
I was gonna say there were some injuries. McGill, I think JB was new at the time, and Paredes was already hurt, I believe. And then
Yep.
I think Hudson actually went down since we last talked, but I think he's already back in a rehab. So he
Yesterday,
pitched
he
in
pitched for
Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah, but that was the biggest thing. And I was curious to see if that injury stuff was going to push any sort of movement, but as we saw, we did not add relievers. And then Joe Ross returned since then, and he's been moved to the pen, it looks like we talked about. And DL Hall is knocking on the door.
Yeah. McGill and Hudson are minor injuries, it sounds like. So it'll be nice to get those two back. We're gonna have a little bit of a logjam, honestly, with DL Hall coming back, and it sounds like he may be starting this weekend, or they'd have to option him otherwise. I think we see him right away. He looked really good. It sounds like in the minor leagues his velo was back up to where it should be, and that's what makes DL Hall special. So fingers crossed on that. Um, around the farm,
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids. If it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
Brewers had tons and tons of pitchers that you profiled before this season that were most of which under the radar, that have all been tearing it up, move up. Logan Henderson, Casey Hunt, Jacob Mizrowski, and Craig Yoho who have all been mentioned in this segment earlier this year as having really good years. We're all moved up a level. Mizrowski, Logan Henderson, and Yoho all to AAA Nashville. I would say that I would bet we see one of those dudes in Milwaukee in September. I don't know which one, but I bet we see one of the three.
Well,
somehow.
Yoho's just been skyrocketing, and has yet to find a level that can even touch him.
Exactly. So I think if they want to, like, there's a chance it could be Mizrowski if everything goes well. Like, that's the perfect storm. But then if they think, all right, Miz isn't ready, or we want him to be a starter or whatever, then it could be Yoho. And then I feel like if it's not either of them, they might say, okay, fuck it. Let's just bring up Logan Henderson and see what happens, because they're not as worried about his service clock, essentially.
You mean re-sign Jim Henderson?
Yes, exactly. That's his kid, right?
Is it?
No, I don't know.
I was like,
Cool,
damn.
and then Casey Hunt was moved up to AA Biloxi, so he's another
And
one.
to be clear, it's KC Hunt,
Yeah.
not Casey Hunt.
Yep. Carlos D. Rodriguez was moved up to Nashville. So once again, Carlos F. Rodriguez and Carlos D. Rodriguez play together. Cooper Pratt had a 3-double game.
And he also got moved up.
Yep, after being moved up to single A. It was high A, right? Wisconsin
Yeah.
Timber Rattlers. Yep. High A. So saw him break out there. And then a guy who's been a little bit of a controversial topic in the Brewers world right now is Tyler Black, because I would say about my tweet, I'm on the side of bring him up, but I do understand both sides. I'd say about half the replies I got were, yes, please get his bat in the lineup. He can help us. We'll worry about the defense later. We'll find a spot for him, especially with Yelich out. And then the other half was saying, no, he can't play anywhere. There's no point. We don't have room for him. We need Monasterio up. So I understand both sides. I would like to see a little bit of a spark. Although after this Braves series, it's looking pretty good. So maybe wait until the next time we're in a little bit of a slump. It's tough right now with Haas and Sanchez. You don't want to just DFA Haas right now because the second you do that, Gary's going to go down with some soft tissue injury, and then you're just screwed because next man up is Brian Navarretto in Nashville, and you don't know. So, different story if Carroll was healthy, if we had an optionable catcher, I guess, that we trusted. So I'm fine with letting Haas stay up right now. But yeah, Tyler Black, I don't know. Something about the kid. Maybe it's because he looks like Paul Molitor, but like he's just fun, dude. He's just fun to watch. All of his highlights and I don't know. Everyone says he can't play third in the major leagues, but apparently he can play center field in AAA. So I'd like to see him try somewhere else in the field if there's not room for him with Jake Bauers.
Yeah, I just like you said, I don't want to regret moving a catcher, and no one else I feel like really does warrant to be moved at this time. Just with how the guys fit in together. So there's worse problems to have too, though, right?
Right. But I can't remember if I said this before my rant. He went 3 for 3 with 3 walks in a game, so he reached base 6 times in a game. Pretty cool. All right, beer of the week.
I'll have a brewski, Charlie. Well, there's nothing like a cold one after a long day, huh? Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
This is the New Glarus Totally Naked Wisconsin Lager. That's all I gotta say.
I'm actually gonna do an honorable mention
Let's hear it.
for myself, beer of the week. When I went to Colorado, we went to Fort Collins and visited New Belgium Brewing, known for their IPAs and Fat Tire, among other beers. But in person there, they make a ton of sours that are really good. I don't know if you like sours, I guess, but they have like a traditional
Some of them.
sour.
Not the
and
ones that
then-
smell like puke, but
No, they have like
Yeah.
a good traditional sour. Then some of the like, I think whatever,
Fruited?
add a little fruit. Yeah. So
Fruited
they,
sour?
one of their bigger ones is called like Dominga, and that was really good. It has like a citrus flair. And then I tried one of their like special barrel aged ones that was like lemon. So it was supposed to kind of be Arnold Palmery. I really just tasted kind of a sour beer, but it was really good. So if anyone makes the way to Denver or Colorado, take the hour and a half drive and go on a hike and visit New Belgium. Their tour is awesome.
this is my first time hearing that New Belgium Brewery is not in Wisconsin. I thought there was a New Belgium or a
There is.
Belgium, Wisconsin. Okay.
There's
Well, I
Belgium,
thought
and
that's where the brewery was. So
No, yeah, New Belgium is.
glad I didn't
It
drive
was a
there.
guy who liked Belgian beers, and then he named his brewery New Belgium.
Gotcha. All right. All right. So a lot of talk about Jackson Chourio's age, and I wanted to center my random game of Brewers history, which it is random by chance. They've tied into the most recent series.
Random.
So first of all, I just downloaded or subscribed to StatHead again today. I like it. Sometimes I feel like I don't use it enough, but I'm giving it another try. Baseball References StatHead, where you can search cool things. And I think I'm using it correctly, but if I'm not, somebody tell me. So by my math, the last player to be under 21 and play on the Brewers, do you have a guess on who it would be? Just appear in any game under the age of 21.
The last brewer. Trying to think. Is he not American?
So, okay, I would give it to you two ways because the last one's a pitcher. I'll give you a hint because it's a tough question without any prep. Last one's a pitcher. The last hitter.
Oh, Ashby.
No.
No.
Good guess. Good guess. The last hitter came before the last pitcher. Both, I believe, were born in America.
I wish it was Matt Gamble, my hero.
It's before we were born, both of them.
Oh shit.
Shortly before we were born, I'd say. Not like, but.
I'm not gonna get it.
All right. So the pitcher.
Oh,
is
Ben
Jeff-
Sheets?
No, Jeff D'Amico, which I didn't think you'd get.
No.
But hitter, And if I give you the year, you got to get it. 1989. Come on. What?
89.
And then my last hint will for sure give it away. So I just want to see if you can get it. 1989, young player. Big
Oh,
prospect.
Sheffield.
Yeah,
No,
Sheffield.
yeah. Okay.
Sheffield. If I did it right on StatHead, it was D'Amico and Sheffield. So the only reason I'm second guessing myself on how I searched it is because for Sheffield, when I sorted by date, it just seemed like it wasn't showing its full game log for the year. So I don't know for sure. So I'm gonna go with the game from Jeff D'Amico. So this is the last time a Brewers player, Brewers hitter was under 21 on the Brewers, according to my search, October 1st, 1989. Brewers versus Red Sox. The last time any player, so pitcher Jeff D'Amico, was 9/29/96, September 29th, 1996. Brewers versus the Tigers in Detroit. It was a lineup of Gerald Williams, Mark Loretta, Jeff Cirillo, Matt Meiske, Turner Ward, Tim Unruh, Brian Banks, Kelly Stinnett, and Todd Dunn. That's probably one of the lineups in Brewers history where I don't know half the players
Yeah,
are
I
ever
was
heard
like,
of them.
is that the other
Um,
team?
Fernando Vina came in at a point in the game. Steve Sparks came in relief. Mike Fetters, those are names we know.
Mm-hmm.
Tigers were up 4-2, or sorry, 5-2 after 6. The Brewers scored 3 in the top of the 8th. Oh, my math's bad. They were up 5-2 after 6. Brewers scored 3 in the top of the 8th to tie it, to send it to extras, and they scored 2 in the top of the 10th to win it. Mike Fetters got his 32nd save of the year. Mark Loretta had an RBI and 2 hits in the game. Matt Meiske had 2 hits and 2 RBI. Jeff Cirillo had a hit and an RBI. Brian Banks, 3 for 4 with 2 runs batted in. And Todd Dunn drove 1 in. So a very forgettable Brewers team, but kind of interesting to go back and think about the last time there was a player. Like, we think about the crazy things Jackson Chourio is doing right now. And it's like not even like you think, oh, it's crazy rookies doing this, but like Ryan Braun wasn't this young, Prince Fielder wasn't this young, Ricky Weeks, we haven't had a player in our lifetime even play on the Brewers at this age. So it's just and to be excelling and putting himself in a NL Rookie of the Year conversation that he probably would have a legit shot if it wasn't for Paul Skeens. So
Yep.
can't believe it. And then looking at the schedule, the Reds, Dodgers, and Guardians are coming to town starting Friday. So
That's
what are your final thoughts?
I was gonna say it's kind of a tough lineup.
Yeah.
But at least we're getting a little bit back on track now after the Braves
The
series.
return of Joey Weimer.
I didn't even know. Is he on the major league club?
Someone on the paternity list the other day, and I saw he got activated. I don't know if he's still going to be or not.
I know they traded. I think they had Slater. They traded him to the Orioles. Austin Slater. I think they had him. Interesting. Well, I guess just kind of random league talk. Like you said, we didn't really talk about the deadline, and nothing crazy happened, but lots of talent did move around. One that I thought was funny and to a team I didn't really expect was Eloy to the O's, just because last year about this time, a lot of Brewers fans were like, we need a DH. Eloy's available.
I was in on it because that was like pre-Canna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny when you look at what happened now, but I guess he's kind of been hitting well, I think, on the Orioles. So all the power to him. And as by now, when this comes out, the White Sox have won and lost the ability to have the streak of, I think, the longest modern losing streak. And they also have a new coach, Mr. Grady Sizemore. So don't know if it's really a new page for the White Sox, but big news around baseball. But yeah, I don't know if there were any other trades that you kind of caught your eye. A lot of relievers moved, and as we said, we already have kind of too many.
Sounds like the Rays got a haul as usual of prospects. They're so funny. They just always sell. Um, I like Eflin to the Orioles. That's a good move. I can't believe the Orioles to tie those two together. The Orioles gave up what they gave up for, um, what's his name? The Marlins pitcher.
Yeah, the reliever.
Yeah, was it Tanner Scott? Is that who it was?
I think it was for Tanner
No,
Scott.
I think it was. Let me look this up.
Or it
But it
wasn't.
was
It wasn't
it was
Puck.
it was Kobe Mayo and Kyle Stowers, right?
Yep.
Hold on.
That is the return.
Let me check what this dude's name is. I guess that's my point, is that it was some dude who was
I
like
thought it was Tanner Scott, no?
for two. I thought it was a starter, but let me check. Either way, I wanted Kobe Mayo. Not I'm fine with Ortiz as well, but I that's who I wanted in the Burns trade. I was hoping for a DL Hall Kobe Mayo package, and I'll take Joey Ortiz for sure. But oh, I'm sorry. It was Connor Norby.
Norby.
Mayo just made his debut.
Yeah.
Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers went to the O's.
But Stowers is they're a little lower on him now, but Norby was still pretty hyped as a prospect. Both were names you would know, but
and it was for Trevor Rogers. That was the name. That was really
Trevor Rogers. Yeah.
Can't pull all those names. But off the bat, I was thinking that was kind of a rip off. But
yeah, I thought Kikuchi's been good in his start so far for the Astros, but the guys they gave up for Kikuchi compared to what the Cardinals had to give up to get Fetty, and even what was given up for Flaherty, to me. I mean, granted, those prospects could turn into something. They're only 19, I think, that the guys the Dodgers gave up, but I think it was Jake Bloss, Loperfido, and Bobby Wagner's kid were the three dealt from the Stros, and the first two of those are both guys that have been, I think they're both top 100 guys. Maybe not, but they're at least prospects I know.
Right.
So yeah, it was a weird deadline with how
it was,
I guess,
just
evaluations.
so many teams buying. That's just, and I don't know. I mean, it's probably better for baseball for more teams to compete, but when I was younger, I always really looked forward to, like, who are the new guys going to contenders? Like, who are the touchy subject, but who are the Manny Machados that, like, at the All-Star game, like, these big names are all getting moved from.
Yeah, there's still a lot of movement.
There are some, but I just feel like there used to be more. Like, I don't know. I feel like the Brewers would go get 5 players at the deadline, and that were all expiring contracts if they were content. I don't know.
But whatever. I think part of it is just our roster this year didn't really warrant that. I think that's part of it.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, we had the outfielders, but like Elaine Thomas would have been a really good get, but he's just we don't need him.
It sounded like they wanted a lefty though, which is weird to me as well. A left-handed. So because Thomas is righty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think
just saw now before I forget. On Twitter, Jackson Chourio is the youngest player. Oh, I'm sorry. This isn't even MLB. I thought I was saying he's the youngest player to have a 2-homer game since Hank Aaron. In MLB Pipeline tweeted, Jackson Chourio is the youngest player in Milwaukee's MLB history to have a 2-home run game since Hank Aaron. So just Milwaukee, never mind.
I saw today that Jackson Chourio was born after the release of Finding Nemo.
I saw that as well, and that really screwed me up.
That's my takeaway. Yeah. Otherwise, one thing I wanted to point out is that after the Mets acquired Jesse Winker, they have Ben Gamel and Tyrone Taylor also in their outfield, and they signed JBJ like a week or two ago, but he's not on the major league team yet. But there's a chance there's something real special happening out in New York.
All this time we thought David Stearns was so good. And then we found out that he doesn't know how to adjust. He just is still trying to turn
he got Grimace in the house and they started rolling and haven't stopped since.
Hey, he turned a utility man into a pop star. That man can do anything.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, the one thing that it was kind of funny. So I wanted to talk about it. And by the time that we scheduled the podcast, I guess it was after the deadline. But when I was making my notes for the one last week that Kian couldn't figure out Zoom for, if he's listening.
Different Kian again.
Yeah. Brett Phillips at that point had been pitching in like a kind of semi-pro tournament that takes place is it Kansas? It was like the middle of the
Middle of nowhere.
country.
He
Yeah,
one
but he was
appearance.
yeah, he was pitching, throwing like 97. There was like a couple of viral clips of him going around. And by the time we were to record, so the deadline had happened, and it obviously wasn't a trade, but happened about the same time. The Yankees signed Brett Phillips as a pitcher. So the best laugh in baseball is battling back.
And one of the best dudes, it seems like.
Yeah, he does seem awesome.
Rooting for him to make it back for sure. He dude can throw the ball 105 miles an hour from the outfield and has a sprint speed faster than probably 98% of the league, but just couldn't figure out the hit tool, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess one other thing I wanted to mention, and you might have had it on there too, but Freddie Freeman's son was in the hospital for some medical issues. I don't know the full extent of it, so I'll try to not explain it, but he's doing fine now and he's out of the hospital. But Freddie Freeman shouted out the whole Dodgers staff for their support, but also shouted out Pat Murphy and the Brewers staff for sending him a video of well wishes for his son. So pretty cool. Pat Murphy, you hear nothing but good things, it seems, about this dude everywhere around baseball, not just MLB, but
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the competitive edge in baseball. We're
yeah,
all soft
right.
now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's all I got. Go Brewers. Good sweep here. Salvaging the last 2 weeks. It was looking like a bad stretch here, and ended up being 6-6. And for a struggling, quote unquote, struggling team, I'll take 6-6. So hopefully we spark the offense, and the hot stretch is coming. It's going to be really important that we're hot come middle to the end of September, because we're gonna have to live with this offense. That's what's gonna need to get it done. So we got some pitchers, but need the young team to be fun and explosive and continue to see Jackson Chourio blossom. Hopefully Yelich is back healthy, and this is a team that can make a run for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, big couple, I think, yes, we were 500, like you said, if you look at that span, but kind of we're losing the mojo a little bit, and the sweep is back in the right direction, but I want to keep rolling and get hot again, especially in this, not going to call it a post Yelly era, but working through kind of a slightly new look team with a little less Yelly, maybe. Of course, he'll be fresh for the Yoffs and the World Series run, but
All right. Well, hey, go Brewers.
go Brewers.